After a long September day in 2003, it's just another night out with friends. But when you add a volatile love affair and a rash of violent home robberies in the area, ending in a brutal murder, detectives are faced with the puzzling question: who killed Michael Dojaquez?
He is the last person that anybody would want to murder.
Situated in Pima County, Tucson is the second largest city in Arizona. Many refer to it as the oasis of the desert.
Tucson is a great town. The metropolitan area is about 1 million people, but Tucson likes to think of itself as a small town.
It's about a third the size of Phoenix, and it's the city that doesn't want to grow to be like Phoenix, so we're completely opposite as far as that goes. So it's very hometowny. Everybody seems to know each other, especially in the yoga community.
The Midtown area of Tucson. Although crime is typically higher in this part of the city, it boasts a vibrant arts and restaurant district, as well as many of the city's top urban attractions. Midtown is where most Tucsonians eat, drink, shop, and play.
We love our Mexican food. We love our festivals.
Michael Dojaquez is a guy living life on his own terms, and that's just the way he likes it.
His home is in the Midtown region of Tucson. A lot of older homes there, quite a lot of traffic, not a particularly safe neighborhood.
It's got its pockets of crime, infested areas, just like any other major city.
Friday, September 28th, 2003, at 6 a.m. While walking her dog, a neighbor discovers Michael's body. She calls 911.
The body was discovered on the front porch. She saw his body and saw that he clearly had some trauma.
The neighbor calls police, telling them there is a body and a lot of blood on the porch of a house on North Sparkman Boulevard. On-duty officers are on the scene within minutes.
We were called as a homicide team, I believe it was around 6 a.m. And when I arrived there were other officers on scene already, uniform officers. All I was told, it was a dead male, possible homicide victim laying on his porch outside his residence. We did a walkthrough and we found the victim, Michael Dojaquez, laying there on his porch, face up, on his back, and a lot of dried blood around his head. His body was warm to touch. Felt that he probably died within the last 8 to 12 hours.
The coroner identified his wound as a gunshot wound, did not find an exit wound, so the bullet was still in his head.
It was clear to us that the victim had been shot by a handgun or a rifle. We weren't sure at the time. Our next step is to canvass the area, talk to neighbors to see if they heard anything, heard any gunshots, things of that nature. Michael was a machinist by trade, so he had a workshop right outside his kitchen door. Neighbor across the street thought that Michael was alive on the day before. He heard Michael's compressor going on and off in his machine shop, so he felt that he was home because whenever Michael would use his machinery, the compressor would be on. Through Michael's cell phone that was in his bag, I was able to gather contacts from the phone, and we found his son. His son arrived.
Michael's youngest son identifies the body. The detectives set about interviewing friends and family to get a better understanding of who Michael was, and hopefully a lead that could point to a motive for the killing.
He seemed like a fun-loving person. He got along with everybody, kind of a free spirit. He had been married and divorced and had a few kids. They all loved him, and he got along with everybody. I think even his ex-wives got along with him very well.
It's apparent early on that Michael Dojaquez definitely lived the hippie lifestyle. His home is in a low-income section of town that is known for its transient populations. And yet, everything detectives are being told about Michael Dojaquez, what friends and family and known associates say about him, is that he's the most stable and reliable guy they know.
He was a very charismatic person, almost always had a smile on his face.
Everyone said wonderful things about Michael, that he was a caring person, he was a joyful person, just this nice, peaceful soul type of guy. The more you heard about him, the more you kind of wished that you met him.
My relationship with Michael initially was, he was my yoga instructor. A friend of mine introduced me to Michael because he was in his yoga class, and I had never taken yoga before, and so he introduced me to Michael, and we grew to be rapid friends. It's a person you could get along with very, very easily.
Besides his knowledge of yoga, his charisma might have had something to do with his popularity with the female students.
And he had long, flowing hair, and he dressed like a hippie. He didn't even have a car. He actually drove a bicycle everywhere he went, and the girls loved him.
Everyone said he was very charismatic, that he was flirtatious. He loved the women, and they loved him.
He is the last person that anybody would want to murder.
But someone did, and friends and family are shocked when it happens.
I drove home from work and was watching the local news when it came up with a news story of a murder that had occurred midtown. And I heard Michael's name mentioned as the victim of a burglary gone wrong.
When we got word that a man was shot to death on the front porch of his home, of course it sounded at first that it might have been a botched burglary.
We felt that we did have a foiled burglary, that the victim had come home and stopped the intruders. There appeared to be items stacked outside his residence. There was guitar cases, a violin case, a handbag was found on the sawhorse on the side of the house next to these stored violins and guitars. And there was a broken window in the front of the porch area. It looked like it went into a kitchen. Upon going into the residence, we were able to see that there were more musical instruments placed inside the kitchen door to go outside. There was an amplifier, a guitar stand.
And the thought was that perhaps because this was a neighborhood that had been burglarized frequently, that it was natural that the police started looking at known burglars.
We did find a large shoe print, like kind of a waffle shoe print outside the front door.
Could this be just another random attack gone wrong? Or has Michael's charisma attracted some unwanted attention?
There were many different scenarios coming through.
Both of them had been taken into custody, and the handgun was involved.
She had gotten drunk and pointed that pistol at her own husband.